Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our ordinary meeting for July. Welcome to those in the gallery and watching online. We're joined this evening by Acting General Manager Jeff Gunn. We have Director Rule here, Corporate Services, and Acting Director of Roads and Engineering, Scott Barnes. Could I ask the Acting General Manager to make announcements regarding the live streaming of the meeting, please?
This meeting is being live streamed and or recorded for on-demand viewing via Council's website. Attendance at the meeting is to be taken as consent by a person to their image and or voice being webcast. All speakers should refrain from making any defamatory comments or releasing personal information about other individuals without their consent. Council accepts no liability for any damage that may result from defamatory comments made by persons attending meetings, or liability will rest with the individuals who made the comments. The meeting must not be recorded by others without prior written consent of the Council in accordance with Council's Code of Meeting Practice. Councillors and staff are obligated to declare conflicts of interest as required under the Local Government Act 1993 and Council's adopted Code of Conduct. Councillors are reminded of their oath of office whereby they have declared and affirmed that they will undertake the duties of the office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of the Wentworth Shire and the Wentworth Shire Council, and that they will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers and authorities and discretions vested in them under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment.
Thank you, General Manager. Those who are willing and able, could you please stand for prayer? Councillors, let us in silence reflect upon our responsibilities to the community which we represent and to all future generations, and faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us to the best of our skill and judgment. Thank you. Please be seated. Move to item 3, apologies and applications for leave of absence. Welcome back, Councillor Beaumont. Are there any requests for leave of absence? There are no apologies. Move to item 4, disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I have a disclosure of interest in item 9.8. It is non-pecuniary and less than significant. One of the directors of the proponent company is a client in my normal line of work.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Are there any further disclosures of interest? Thank you. I'll move to item 5, please. Would someone like to move confirmation of the minutes? Councillor Rodder, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Weeding. Anyone requiring to speak to that motion? Councillor.
Just a query, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wondering under item 3 whether I should be listed as an apology due to leave of absence approved at the May meeting. I mean, I'm not listed as an attending.
That might have been bad. I did mention that you had a leave of absence.
Yep. Okay.
I'll take some advice on that. We'll amend that if.
I'm just. Yep.
But I observed that you weren't here because you had a previous leave of absence approved. Yep. Thank you. Nothing further. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you. Councillor Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the ordinary council meeting be adjourned for the purpose of conducting a public forum.
Is the motion seconded? Councillor Nichols, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Councillors, we will now conduct a public forum. We have a speaker for each of the items 9.8 and 9.9. Mr. Costa is going to speak to us for 3 minutes on item 9.8. Would you like to skip the front? That'll be fine. Are you ready?
Thank you very much. I thought I'd attend today and give you an update in respect to this application. And first of all, I apologise because it did get laid on the table by council not last meeting, the one before. We didn't realise there was a time frame that was coming back to council tonight, because so in respect to it, what this application, the manufactured home estate, it went to your consultants in Sydney and there was discrepancy or concern whether council could actually determine the application in respect to owner's consent for the application. So we lodged the application some months ago. We got the owner's consent, but part of the access to this land is over a channel reserve, of which there was a licence agreement issued in 2024 to Wentworth Council for it. When we lodged the application, that was accepted by Council's Planning Department. However, the consultants from Sydney, as you probably read in the report on page, well, it was 314 of the last one, they said the access point for the developments proposed via a Crown parcel of land, landowner's consent was not provided by the applicant for that access. So that's what what we've been doing since then is we've applied to Crown Land for that access consent, and as of today, the Crown yesterday requested further information in respect to that access. We provided that this morning. They accepted that further information. They've now requested a fee, which will be paid tomorrow, for the consideration of that consent. So it was a matter of coming here explaining all that to the councillors, and we ask that you lay this on the table until we provide the consent from the Crown Land in respect to that access, because that was the concern that was raised a couple of months ago. All the other matters have been addressed. We haven't lodged that because obviously we're waiting for this consent, because there was a couple of comments made in respect to the manufactured home estate and meeting certain requirements, which we do, but they requested more detail. But the overriding issue is that access, because technically without that access, this land is actually landlocked. So it was just a matter of that was raised. We've been working on it, and as I said, didn't realise it was coming back tonight, but we request that council lay it on the table again until we provide that information, which is forthcoming. We've been dealing with it, and as I said, as of today, we just have to pay the fee tomorrow and it'll be processed. And then council will be able to consider it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Costa. That's your submission.
Yeah.
Just in the nick of time. Councillors, does anybody have a question for Mr. Costa? Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Costa, just so you mentioned that you've dealt with the land owner access through Crown Land, so you're
Dealing with that
in the process.
Yes.
The report to council addressed soil testing for contaminants as an issue. Has that been addressed?
Yeah, well, as I said, we've attended to those requirements. There was a report. I don't know if councillors are aware of whether it was in the previous one. I can't remember. I apologise. But this land already has a permit for I think it's 124 lot residential subdivision with this access, and that's why there's been, I suppose, confusion whether it's got access, but we've already got a DA for 124 lot residential subdivision. As part of that, the soil report was done, so that'll be submitted with that information, as well as the other manufactured home estate matters that the consultant raised. All that's ready to lodge, but obviously we need to get this owner's consent to the Crown Land, and that'll be all lodged together rather than give you a bit now, a bit later, and a bit more after. We want to do it all as one.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? All right, thank you. Councillor Beaumont, did you have a question?
Just interested, Roy, please, if I can call you Roy.
Yes.
The right of access, what I guess the Crown still retain ownership of that land. Is that correct? Or?
Well, that's where the confusion, because when we, as part of the subdivision DA approval, we had to get that consent, and there was actually a license. That's it. There. The license agreement was actually between them, and council took the lease. The license is with council themselves, and that was signed on the 16th of February 2024, and that was for council to have that access. and that's what we're trying to now go through, whether that's still valid. If the consent is granted, because we'll be constructing a road over that channel reserve, and that's what they asked. So just so you're aware, the further information today, yesterday they asked was the type of access proposed, how it would be for is an access road. We said yes, and it's for residential vehicles. And then once if they give us that consent, it will be a formed constructed road. I'm presuming which will be transferred to council because it'll be a public road. And that might be part of that license agreement, then it gets transferred over. I'm presuming they give us consent for that access, that they'll detail what that entails.
So this whole subdevelopment hinges on that right of access.
Oh, correct.
And there is no other alternative road in or out of that.
Correct.
Of that.
And that's why we're confused, because if you go down Corbett, there's a new Corbett Avenue. There's a new subdivision from the highway down Corbett on the right. That's industrial subdivision. So on this land, that was actually all this was one. That was zoned industrial, and this is zoned village, U5 village. We did a 2-lot subdivision, subdivided the industrial from the residential. We did a subdivision of industrial lots in there, and they've got 2 courts off Corbett, and that's developed. We did a residential subdivision that got approved with this access because it's the only access, unless it's landlocked, and we had to make sure we got that approved before the industrial, and that all got approved. So we thought we're all okay, and as I said, the license was issued, but the consultants that did the report believe we need the consent from the owner to be able to lodge this, so we're now pursuing that. But without this, the land, I don't know how you access it unless you've got a helicopter. That's the problem. That's why we're trying to.
So essentially, at this point, you're asking for this matter to lay on the table until such time as you clarify.
Correct.
That.
Yeah. And that's what I say. I didn't. When this laid on the table, there wasn't any correspondences until a time frame or when it's coming back to council or anything. So as soon as we got there, we've been working on it, and didn't know that it'd come back to a meeting. So we asked that it doesn't get presented to the next meeting unless we've got that consent. But I'm presuming everything's done. They've requested that fee, which we'll pay tomorrow. So it should be in the very, very near future. But if we ask council, lay it on the table, but don't present it to the council until we provide that information.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Costa. Anything further, Councillor Weeding?
Can I just clarify that you have got the DA, or is it depending on right of access?
We've got a DA approved for 124 lot residential subdivision with that access.
So you haven't got the DA approved at the moment?
We don't have a DA for this manufactured home state. No, that's what this application is.
Okay, anything further? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on, please. I think Michelle Boss will speak to item 9.9. If you'd like to address from the front, Michelle, also for 3 minutes when you're ready.
All right, I'll talk fast. I'm presenting on behalf of the landowners and the applicants of item 9.9 on page 214 of the agenda. It's for a concept development application for a dwelling at 205 Delta Road, Kerwa. The development application is a concept development application, which a concept development application identifies what the development proposal will be for the site, but the details and specifics aren't required at this stage. So basically it's to have the ability to lodge a future development application, which will have all of the details, site plan, elevations, floor plans and any other assessments for approval. Now, the reason why this development application is before you is not because it's a concept application, and it's not because a dwelling is prohibited in the zone, but it's because we are requiring a variation to the development standard, which is 10 hectare minimum lot size. You need that size lot to to be able to build a dwelling. Now, the variation has to come to council because it's greater than 10%. I think you've dealt with a few of these over the past couple of years. In the council report and the assessment, there are a few inaccuracies and perhaps some false assertions. The council report states that the site is zoned RU1, but it's actually the majority of the site is RU4, which is the small lot primary production zone. With respect to the statement of environmental effects report that was lodged with the application, the assessment report says that clause 5.16, which is the subdivision of dwellings on land in resident or rural zones, that this wasn't addressed, but it actually was addressed under section 4 part 2 of the SEP, which is a state environmental planning policy, and it refers to primary production. So that actually was addressed. The same with the flood planning clause. That wasn't addressed specifically because at the time when the application was lodged at the end of last year, the flood mapping did not include the site, that it was not flood affected. That was under the intramaps and also under the New South Wales Spatial Viewer. The application is not seeking to change the use of the site from agricultural activities to residential accommodation. Therefore, a preliminary site inspection is not required. You did approve a dwelling in Trentham Cliffs last month, and a preliminary site inspection was not required under those conditions, and it's a similar situation with this application. The assessment report makes a false assumption that the boundary realignment that was conducted...
I'll just get you to finish that final point that you've started, Michelle.
Yeah.
So
I've done 3 minutes, have I? Or...
You've done 3 minutes, but
yeah.
You started a point, so...
Yeah. So the assessment report said or made an assumption that a boundary realignment was conducted on the site between the adjoining property and this site, so that it could circumvent and be allowed to apply for a dwelling on the site. That's actually incorrect. The boundary realignment was undertaken to rectify a boundary that crossed over irrigation infrastructure between the two properties. So I just wanted to clarify that as well. So
okay. Thank you very much. 3 minutes, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Councillors, does anybody have a question for Ms. Boss? Councillor Crisp.
Michelle, was the title of that land created before 1993?
This one wasn't, no. It was created only a couple of years ago under a boundary realignment, and the boundary realignment clause in the LEP doesn't prohibit a dwelling on a lot that's less than the minimum lot size. But that boundary realignment was done to sort of move a boundary so that it wasn't crossing over irrigation infrastructure between the two sites, two properties.
Sorry, you've got another.
What I'm looking for is the pre-1993 escape clause to be relevant here. In that titles created before the LEP came into place. Correct me, because you probably know this better than I do.
Yep.
And where it was assumed that they were created with the intention of a dwelling going on them, particularly in Kerwa. So it's if a realignment to take into account irrigation infrastructure is whether that ends that pre-1993 exclusion is something that's not clear in my mind.
Yep.
Because about through that period, Kerwa was significantly rehabilitated in its irrigation system. It was resurveyed. A lot of boundaries were found not to be where people thought they were to be, and a lot of irrigation infrastructure was found not to be where, or not to be on ground that it was supposed to be or thought to be. So that's why in this case, I'm trying to justify justify option 2 based on that 319 it was that there was always intended to be a dwelling on that site.
There used to be a dwelling on that property years ago.
Right.
So originally that lot would have been part of a lot that was created well and truly before 1993, because it's part of the Kurwa Irrigation District, which, as we all know, is a very old area, and it was established with small lots that were allowed to have a dwelling on site to support the horticultural activities when they were created. Those lots were created. And that's
No, thank you.
and that's one of the reasons why the applicant or the landowners want to build a house on this is they want to establish an exotic and native seed raising fernery to obviously germinate
Intensive
seeds.
horticulture.
Yeah, so they do want to still continue to use it for horticulture, but they want to be able to live on site to protect the infrastructure that's required to develop it for that purpose.
Councillor Crisp.
One last question, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Michelle, in the general conditions that are applied here,
Yep.
if councillors were persuaded to go to option 2, are any of those conditions there contradictory or cause an issue to you and your client?
Condition 4 states that it needs a preliminary site inspection. You only need that when you have a change of use. The dwelling on this site, because it's going to be continued to be used for horticulture, the dwelling is an ancillary use. It's not actually changing the primary use of the site. So a PSI should not be required.
Thank you.
Ms. Boss, you've outlined a couple of areas that you disagree or believe the report wasn't quite accurate.
Yeah.
In terms of, I just want to see whether you agree with the accuracy of the final paragraph in the report, which outlines that it's a concept development application and therefore it's not providing approval for a dwelling, and that
Providing
subsequent
approval for a dwelling, but you can't do the development as such. You can't apply for a construction certificate yet. There needs to be a subsequent DA issued that will endorse the plans. Then you can go to a construction certificate to actually do the build.
Yeah, so in terms of any information that hasn't been provided at this point, it would logically be provided at the next gateway,
Yes.
including, I'm just referring to the image, the satellite image on page 222. The subject site, presumably, is protected by the same levy as the adjacent properties that have dwellings on
Yes,
them,
that's right.
with respect to
Yes.
the
Yeah.
flooding issue.
The surrounding area, the land uses are very, very similar, and the lots are very, very similar in size as well. So, and they're all within the Cooler levy.
Thank you. Councillors, any further questions for Ms. Boss? Okay, thanks very much. Okay, Deputy Mayor Chris, would you mind moving us back into ordinary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council reconvenes open session.
Thank you. Is the motion seconded? Councillor Rodder, thank you. Those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That's carried. We will move back to item 6.1. Status report. Councillor Rodder, moving.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Beaumont. Any discussion? Councillor Rodder.
So I note with interest that the Cameron's Lane has now been named in Golgol. And,
Yes.
a family member proudly posted a photo of that.
Yes.
So have we erected the Tomoka pathway signage yet?
Not yet, but they are the sign.
I'll be able to answer that. Signs were delivered to Council Depot at lunchtime today, so
Fantastic.
they will be fitted to a back piece and the appropriate decorative posts put in, and both those signs will be erected within the next 12 months, I would imagine, or at a time that's sort of
So
agreed.
they'll be erected and kept covered. And then, as we know, our good friend Mr. Monica isn't keeping the best of health at the moment. So we'll arrange a little unveiling ceremony around his availability and keep councillors and the community informed.
Fantastic. Very good.
Excuse me. Anything further? All those in favour? And clear, that's carried. I move my mayoral report. Seek a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. In moving my report, I just want to advise the chamber. I spoke to Councillor Graham Milne today, the Mayor of Wentworth Shire Council, to express our council and community's condolences to his community following the tragic passing of young Layla Jeffrey earlier this month. So you'll notice a few of us have got a splash of pink on this evening, and that is just to provide some simple acknowledgement to what is just a dreadful situation. I think when I heard the news as a community leader, but as a father of young daughters of a similar age, and just as a human being, it's just horrific and unimaginable. The trauma that family and community will be going through. So we extend our thoughts to them and, of course, to Layla's classmates and teachers and sporting teams, just the whole community. These sort of tragic events create an enormous ripple effect. So just wanted to put on record our thoughts with their community. The 50th annual performance of the Sunraysia Gang Show was very well attended, and it was a terrific performance. So well done to the Delta Scouts. So Wentworth Shire well represented during that performance, and very grateful to have had an invitation to attend. This afternoon, before coming here, we attended the New South Wales Rural Fire Service medal presentation ceremony at the Coombe Club, which was attended by Helen Dalton MP, and of course the various district commanders, and it was fantastic just to see the tenure of some of the service. We're talking like in excess of 50 years, yeah. So those volunteers across our community and first responders in many instances do a marvellous job. We've just also done a bit of a look at our 3-bin rollout, which is coming up soon. So there'll be an education program commencing with the community to explain what's going to be happening with the 3-bin rollout, and so watch this space. But this is on the back of decisions that have been made over the last 2 years in terms of introducing a FOGO bin and curbside recycling, which will be a change, but a welcome change for many across the community. Are there any questions? There being none, those in favour? Thank you, that is carried. Move to item 2, the Wentworth Rotary Changeover Dinner and Meeting with Shadow Minister for Water, the Honourable Michael McCormack MP. Report provided by Councillor Cripp. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor. And seconder, Councillor Evans. Would you like to speak to your report?
I certainly would, Mr Mayor. The Rotary Changeover Dinner, as you can see there, they are very impressive numbers in the support that gives our community. And for later preference, I'll table the various organisations that have received support. And with the meeting with Shadow Water Minister Michael McCormack, who we read there, what is probably of interest to this council in the second last paragraph, the fourth last word should be converting. We need a plural on the end of the word convert there, which is a long-standing issue about works and measures and water. And as we all know, water is a very important subject. I presented our Ramjo report there and the recommendations, particularly to the Minister, where there's been over 2,000 submissions go in. I suggested to the Shadow Minister that there was a lot of noise there, but groups, when you band together in a group, the importance of those recommendations, and we went through them. Also, I raised separately to the Ramjo was our concerns with connectivity of the lower Darling and end of system flows. So in all, but the bugbear is, of course, accounting for non-water measures to improve the floodplain without buying more water out of the country areas, the loss of food security, and the hollowing out of communities by additional water purchases. Something that the Minister has taken on board, and it's a policy that under a coalition government there will be no more water purchases for the environment. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you, Councillor Crisp. Yes, one suspects there's been enough damage done with water buybacks. Are there any questions, Councillor Crisp? Thank you very much. We'll move to, those in favour of accepting his report. That is carried. Thank you. Item 8, there are nil. Item 9.1, General Manager's Report. Could I please have a mover? Councillor Rodder, seconded Councillor Beaumont. Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Starry, thank goodness. We've got to give the acting GM some questions.
I don't know about anybody else, but I'm feeling like we've got a bit of whiplash going on at the moment with regard to these meeting practices.
Mm-hmm.
So can we get a summary of what's in effect now? Do we have to adopt a new policy?
My understanding is what we did last meeting, Councillor Starrick, still stands and is correct. We've adopted the previous code of meeting practice, but by proclamation, a couple of small issues like pre-meeting briefings have been dealt with by the Minister, so specifically excluded the ability to do certain actions. Is that an accurate summary of where we're at?
That's correct. I think there's still an intention to redo the
because
policy.
our policy would be in contradiction to the current regulations.
So I think there's still plans from the LLG to redo the model code of meeting practice. However, they can't. They've got to wait 4 months from the dissolution or disallowance motion that was passed. So before they can.
Is the only reason he was able to put it through as a new regulation was because he called it something different?
Probably.
Yes. Whiplash is a good way of describing it. Councillor Rodder and then Councillor Nichols.
Just in regards to that information, it was a bit ambiguous in regards to live streaming of meetings and attendance via audio. Are you able to provide some clarity? Because when you read through the county council and the joint meetings, doesn't specifically deal with councils rather than, so can we still attend?
Okay, we might get our governance officers to have a look at that and get some advice.
We'll take that on those, but I think my understanding of the proclamation is that's one of the things that from the 2025 Code of Meeting Practice that was disallowed. I think that's one of the parts that he's now reinstated is through this regulation to say that you can only attend meetings in person unless you fall into one of those categories that allowed you to attend.
I think that needs to be revisited if we could, Simon, because it's quite ambiguous because we aren't a county council or a joint organisation.
We'll get some advice on that before the next meeting. Councillor Nichols and then Councillor Crisp.
Thank you. Question to Mr Gunn, please. On page 54, where they mention avian influenza, the 5 confirmed cases, I believe, at that stage, when this was written, were from birds that had flown into the country. I think we may now have a bird, possibly that's a local bird. Can you confirm that?
I can't confirm that. What I can confirm is that both councils, Mildura and Wentworth, have not developed, but we have confirmed a procedure for safe disposal of any infected birds at each of the landfills to reduce any further risk. But as far as confirmation of anything in this particular area, I have no knowledge on that.
We're not doing any testing on the dead birds we find.
I can assist there. I've done a bit of reading on this because it was a topic at a conference I attended. Department of Primary Industries are the primary organisation in a response to the bird, to H5N1. So if someone's got a bird that's suspicious, they're to contact DPI. DPI then deal with that through their processes. So council don't get involved at that detection or reporting stage. However, as the general manager has pointed out, we will have an involvement should there be a large-scale issue. We will have an involvement in disposal.
Okay, so if we get a dead bird, if we're getting dead birds out, then the current procedure is that we notify another department.
Yep.
Do we do that?
And that's.
I'm asking, do we do it? Because
if you're a member of the public and you've got a dead suspicious bird, you then contact the local Department of Ag, which is the research station at Dearton, as it's more commonly known, and then they will then tell you what they want you to do.
What we might do, Councillor Nichols, is prepare some comms on this issue, given it is becoming sort of increasingly talked about, and we can, well, the acting GM's correct, we will be involved in disposal if the situation happens, not the testing as such, but let's get some clear comms out to the community on who does what.
Because if we have dead birds and the other department has to be notified, that's where they...
Yep. In my knowledge, I would be surprised if it was dead with H5N1, given that it's got to come up the Murray. Out of South Australia is the nearest confirmed migratory bird, and it's a contact virus. So I would expect that if it does happen, it'll come up the river.
Okay. So, Councillor Crisp, did you have a question before you provided an answer?
Other than I've been reminded, and that's why the comms will be important, that it'll be a 1-800 number to report a suspicious death of a bird, but it will be followed up by the local Department of Primary Industries.
Thank you. Councillor Bowman.
I was just going to say in relation to this virus that it is more than just a contact situation. It's spread through feces, nasal discharge, and that sort of thing. So it's not a straight out contact situation with an affected bird. But if an affected bird is detected here, there would be a whole process of quarantine and that sort of thing to be implemented by DPI, and the ramifications are enormous in terms of this. If we do have an infected bird, say in a on a farm that has poultry, for instance, it's a big situation to deal with.
Yeah, and I think most people will follow the advice. It's not our advice to give per se, but I think we can help the community by making sure we're echoing the correct advice. So we'll get to that.
I think we need to be aware though of potential ramifications if it pop up here.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. Any further questions? Those in favour? Thank you. Let's move on to item 9.2, the Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference, November this year. We have a recommendation. Councillor Rodder. Now, I am indicating that I won't be available to attend. So the Deputy Mayor will attend this conference if that's the way the decision goes. Is there a seconder?
No, I moved it.
So I'm not going to correct we send the mayor and GM normally, but we can send anybody we like as such. The deputy mayor has indicated he's happy to go, seconded by Councillor Nichols. Any discussion? Those in favour? Carried. Item 9.3, the monthly finance report for June. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Starrick, seconded Councillor Beaumont. Any questions? Councillor Rodder.
So the percentage that we're collection of rates is improved from last meeting, but still slightly down. Are we hopeful to be able to catch up on that?
In preparation for this, because I knew that you would probably answer this question. So remember last month I mentioned we had one ratepayer that owed us a little bit of money. They've subsequently paid us those rates, but they paid us on the 4th of July.
Right.
So it goes into this financial year, not last financial year. So they fully paid up for all of their rates, but it's a timing difference between when. So that was about $120,000 or something along those lines.
So if that was to be receipted prior to June 30, what would that percentage be?
Oh, probably you get whether it would have reached the same amount as last year's, but it would have been very, very close to similar pattern to last year.
Just on that, Joe, if it helps, 1.66%, which was the difference between the two, was roughly 198,000. So there'd be a 78,000 approximately dollar value difference.
So it's probably it would have been high 93s, low maybe just touching 94.
Yep. So now, as we learnt in the 3-bin rollout training, so there'll be a pro rata charge for waste bin, the new waste bin system in this year's rate. So will there be communications provided to ratepayers to explain that, and when those policies come out, will there be like an addendum to that notice?
No, so we've structured the fee for the domestic waste for this year to incorporate the 3 months of 1 bin and then the 9 months of 3 bins, so that we didn't have to go out and issue a supplementary rates notice in October. But yeah, there will be comms around what the makeup of that charge is and how it's been structured. As part of the education and the community engagement process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols.
Well, Councillor Rodder just raised an issue for me. Also at that meeting you said you've structured already an amount of money. We discussed at that meeting multiple dwellings on one area. Should they decide they don't need to have...
So their rates notice will be adjusted if that's the... So when you talk about...
an adjustment, come out as an adjustment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further regarding the finance report for June? Those in favour? Thank you. That's carried. Item 9.4 is the monthly investment report for June 2026. Moved Councillor Nichols, seconded Councillor Rodder. Are there any questions? Councillor Beaumont.
I noticed a big increase in the day-to-day liquidity. So has that come about primarily because of the financial assistance grant?
Councillor Starrick.
Do we still have any of those internal restrictions that you've taken funds out of, or are the balances of the internal restrictions all what they are?
They're all what so they're still the same as what they were last. Well, the only one that might have changed slightly is the trust account, because we do a final year and 30 June adjustment. So that one's probably changed a little bit, but the other two are still the same as what they were last month. to be replenished. Yes.
Councillor Rodder.
Thank you. So just in the summary of unexpended grants at June 30, are you able to give us an update on those line items, please, Director Earl?
Yes, so we're still waiting for the Crown Reserve Improvement Fund one that was due at the end of June. So we've, as been previously mentioned in previous meetings, we've made application to the department to increase the scope of works and do additional works at the reserve. We're still waiting for approval as to whether that's been accepted or not. So in theory, at the moment, the end of the close date for that was the 30th of June. The main road block grant has been expended. We're just waiting for invoices to come in post 30 June, and they'll be reassigned or re-journaled back into last financial year. So that one's been completely spent.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything further? Those in favour? Thank you. Carried. Item 9.5, use of planning consultants. We have a recommendation in front of us. Councillor Armstrong is moving
The recommendation as written.
Thank you. Councillor Crisp seconding. Would anyone like to speak for the motion? Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Does anybody have a question?
I'd probably like to express a concern.
Councillor Beaumont.
In that, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In that we are now looking at providing a total of $1.1 million to carry out this activity of addressing our backlog in DA applications, which has come about through vacancies and restructures. But $1.1 million based on the information provided in this report equates to 3 years of salaries for the vacancies that have been advertised. I suggest that this can't go on. It's a massive amount of money to go to consultants for this approval of processing of DAs. Can we have an update perhaps from the acting GM as to where recruitment might be? I do note within the report that there's been a selection made to the manager for that particular department, but is there any other information you can share in relation to filling of those vacancies?
Yeah, I can probably. So there's council have successfully been able to recruit a new manager for planning as well as a manager for health and regulatory services. They commenced with council at the beginning of September this year. Obviously, there's still another 6 to 7 weeks prior before those particular individuals start, and then they need to obviously acquaint themselves and get themselves back up to speed. The intent for this report with regards to that additional allowance for consultants is to cover that and what will be perceived to be potentially another period while the new staff become accustomed. So we're certainly reducing what is going out to the external consultants. Just by way of a little bit of information, in December 25 we had council had 72 applications that were from 24 to 25 yet to be assessed, and out of that 72 applications, 53 were assigned to various external consultants. From December 25 to June 30, 26, the estimated value of those assessments totaled $69 million worth of works. The external consultants were responsible for approximately $63 million worth of those particular works. As of 30 June 26, there is essentially now no backlog of DAs. Having said that, there is outstanding 14 applications. that are still to be assessed, but they're still waiting on further information for information to come back to be assessed. So as of today, one of those particular external consultants only has one DA remaining on their list. The other consultant has about 12 to 14 remaining, and then another consultant has 2. So we are definitely reduced all this significant backlog of DAs which we had at the time of going down this particular path. So it certainly resolved a massive backlog in DAs and a significant amount in value to the area. So,
yeah, thanks. I understand and acknowledge that. So from what you initially said, it sounds like 2 of the 3 vacancies we've made selections.
Correct.
3 vacancies.
Yep, they've certainly been appointed and accepted the positions and start in the start of September.
Thank you. Director, what would you like to add to
Yeah,
that?
just wanted to completely concur with everything that you have put forward. I'm hoping that this is the last report that either Ken or myself have to put together, and these costs, I suppose, has been one of the significant drivers of some of the issues that I've been talking about our short-term cash flow issues, because essentially, yeah, it's like $800,000 worth of unbudgeted expenditure, but it also shows or proves the need to have that capacity or that nest egg, for the want of a better word, to be able to cope with some of these situations. I don't know how other councils that are in a lot worse financial position from us would have coped with a similar situation, other than potentially having to apply to the municipal local government to use some of their external reserves to fund this, and then go through a process of having those reserves topped back up. So in some regards, we've been in a fortunate situation, but in other regards, it has created a short-term issue. Mm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I might just add just a bit of an umbrella statement. It's probably not necessary, but crisis is an overused word. But if we go back to November, December 2025, it'd be fair to say we had an acute resourcing problem when it comes to planning. And so I think right across the organisation, we left no stone unturned of how we could get over this backlog. Whilst new DA applications continue to come through the door, and the acting GMs outlined sort of the numbers involved. So I think I was a bit shocked myself to see the amount of expenditure on it. However, it's necessary in the sense to overcome reputational risk. You can't be a shire that's open for business, that's business friendly, investment friendly, and not provide the service. So we've done what we had to do, but I'm really pleased that in the last month or so, some appointments have been secured. Well, the process has been undergone over the past month. They've been secured. Over the next 3-month period, we should see those new staff fully integrated into the system. As Jeff's outlined, the cases with external consultants will taper off, and hopefully it's onwards and upwards from here. But whilst it's a big amount of money, I think that continuity of service and reputational risk has been abated. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think though, I know we've had a restructure, but it seems there's been, we've got 3 vacancies. There's been some resignations from that area too, so which has obviously exacerbated the situation. So whether, that's something that, whether there's other issues at play, I don't know. But so there's quite a few. There was
a lot of moving parts, and I wasn't going to go into the sort of individual circumstances, but it just all happened to combine at the one time where, as I say, it was an acute resourcing problem. So we had to move one way or the other. Are there any further questions?
I just
Councillor Evans.
comment. Yeah, look, this was we are applying probably the necessary funds to this to move forward that acute time. But I think we also, in view to that, we also need to find a place where this is not something that becomes a culture in our environment, where we need to encourage good, steady employment in that area and personnel that can. I've seen this over a period of a decade, and we talk of short-term difficulties, but I think now we're driving into a place where we do need a great amount of expertise in that area. We're developing very quickly, particularly parts of the Shire, and but we also have to be aware that we can't just spend money endlessly on this process without a finite time of getting the personnel we need to move forward into the future. This has become a bit of a drain on our resources, I feel, but at the same time, reflecting on the amount of work that's been done and been achieved in the planning area, I think it's been impossible to avoid to this point, but I think we need to keep it in mind that we can't. This is not something we can go on for the next 5 years and spend that sort of money on consultants. So that was my comment, really. I'm just aware of the expenditure of funds.
No, thanks, Councillor Evans. I certainly concur. I mean, I want to put on record my or our thanks for the good work that we have had from consultants that have, as Jeff mentioned, we get to June 30 and the backlog is cleared. So there's a clear pathway ahead for providing that customer service. We'd much rather to be able to employ that expertise in-house, and I think some of the other appointments that have happened in the past 6 months, like the coordinator role, have really helped drive. You see in the later report, you can see that average days per DA approval has really come down remarkably. So, but take on board everything you said, and as I say, I'm hoping by the end of the year we're fully integrated with the recent recruitment. It's challenging to recruit in Far West New South Wales or regional New South Wales per se, and just so happens we've got some fantastically talented people in other departments. We've got some very talented people in planning, but we just haven't had enough. So I think we're on the upward trajectory. Councillor Rodder.
I was just going to make mention of a point that I've previously made, given the expenditure that we've been in a situation where we really had no choice but to spend to bring those DA timeframes down. It does lend itself to consideration of higher remuneration for those positions that are hard to fill, which would have cost us a lot less, even if we doubled their wage to get somebody here, provided them with a house. It still would have been less than $1.1 million. But
well, I wouldn't be bold enough to say that those sort of options weren't considered. So, as I said, recruitment is challenging, and sometimes you can't poke enough money at people to get them to move. And but as I said, no stone was left unturned. So all options were considered, and this is where we've landed.
thank you.
Are there any more questions? Councillor Starrick.
Just with regard to the recommendation, how will it be funded?
How will it be funded?
It'll be a budget variation for this financial year, and then come out of the surplus funds that we had that I identified in the budget.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I will put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Item 9.6, we have a request for event funding for the 2026 Spirit of Cricket. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Beaumont.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move the motion that Wentworth Shire Council provide $8,250 to support this event in 2026. I'll go into my reasoning.
Thank you. Councillor Beaumont has moved essentially option A and nominated the figure of 8,250. Is the motion seconded? Councillor Nichols has seconded. Thank you. Councillor Beaumont.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My reasoning for coming up with this figure is that it's stated within the report or within the agenda that the bulk of the activity of this event will be conducted in Mildura, and that Mildura-based businesses, as in pubs, accommodation, houses, restaurants, etc., would be the major beneficiary from this event. It's evident within the report that Mildura Rural City Council, which is obviously a much bigger and more financial organisation than ours, is putting in $12,500 to the event. So based on that, I would think that $8,250 is a reasonable contribution from Wentworth Shire, and that at this point in time, our budget for this financial year for events is $160,000, if that's correct. And you know, if we've got another agenda item within this meeting to consider for another event. If we approve both of them, it would swallow up a huge amount of that $160,000, and only being 1 month into the new financial year.
So this event, this item and the next item are the first two requests we've had.
Yes.
For this,
Thank
we
you.
do have another one, and that'll be coming probably next month or the month after.
And just to finish off, I would have a question in relation to this agenda item, in that is there any fee waiver or in-kind component applicable to this event?
So last year, that 8,250 that we supplied was a combination of cash, and we gave them the venue hire for free.
Yep.
So essentially, the organiser hasn't asked for in kind; he's just asked for $20,000. So that, yeah, there's no. So I suppose he was assuming, or if he received the $20,000, but then full totals for the venue hire. But if we give him $8,250, which is essentially the level of support we provided to him last year, if we give that to him in cash, well then that will help pay for the venue hire.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Okay, would anyone like to speak against the motion?
Well, I'm not sure particularly against the motion, but considering that information in regards to the cash in kind, I would like to move an amendment, if I may, to Councillor Beaumont's motion, and that we provide them with $8,250 in cash plus the in-kind venue hire.
Okay, you may move an amendment, and that has been so moved, seconded by Councillor Crisp.
So based on last year's figures, that'll take it to about $10,000.
Sorry, 10,000.
Or yeah.
Okay. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Roddick?
The festival does use the Caramar Drive sporting facility, and it was a great event last year, which attracted a lot of interest. I think to support the event financially is important, and that's still a fair way short of the 20,000 that they have requested. But in the broader concept, so the event funding program. I'm not sure when that comes up for review.
Currently doing it at the moment.
Right, okay, because that's the next on my hit list. Is we need to revisit that program, because if you look at our policy in regards to our friends over the river, it is very, very different. And so the tiers of funding that are available for community events or professional events to apply for is vastly different. So
Thanks, Councillor Rodder. So your amendment deals with the cash component of 8,250 plus an estimated balance to take it up to a $10,000
Roughly
total.
10,000.
Would anyone like to speak against the amendment?
I was going to speak to the last one. If I might speak to this one, I'll be handy.
Oh, yes, but I was going for and against Councillor Nichols, and we had a speaker for. So, and you seconded the previous motion. So, are you speaking for or against the amendment?
Both.
Okay, Councillor Nichols.
Let me in. What I was going to virtually say was, we've provided funding for this group for 15 years, the next group for 9, which is no problem against the group. However, had we have agreed to both amounts asked for, would have taken up around 25% of our funding for the total year. And for 2 events, 25% is far too much. So I think we have to spread it out a little bit. And yeah, so that's basically it. It was the fact that it was going to take roughly 25% of the funding. The smaller amount sits better. But I think we also need to. The other thing I've got is got on the next one. I'll speak to that the next one.
Absolutely. Just foreshadowing some future commentary. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for the amendment? Any further speak? Councillor Starrick.
Yeah. Look, I feel that the motion that's been put forward is reasonable, and in the context of the budget and other community events within the Shire, giving everyone an equal opportunity to apply for funding from council, it's important not to expend all of that budget in the first month of the year. And to Councillor Rodder's point raising with Director Rule with regard to the policy itself, it's important to set some guidelines with regard to the funding so that there is enshrined something that gives all of our community groups the opportunity to apply for an equal opportunity as a part of that pie, that funding that's available.
And I think that's going to be a major consideration of the work that Director Rules mentioned in terms of the review of the policy. Thank you for that. Any further speakers against the amendment? The amendment, those in favour? That is carried unanimously. The amendment becomes the motion. Does anyone wish to speak further to the motion? We've covered all bases. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Same but different. Item 9.7, request for event funding, Sunraysia Safari Rally 2026. Councillor Rodder.
So I'd like to move option C, provide a partial contribution between the two amounts. So I suggest that the maximum amount of funding that we provide in cash and kind be equivalent to the funding that was provided last year, which was $25,000.
More than that.
That's what we approved, Simon.
Yeah, but by the time you take the in-kind support as well, it was end up almost being $35,000 last year.
Right.
Okay, you're setting a cap. Your suggestion is to set a cap of $25,000. That includes cash and
In
kind.
kind.
So I think we can deal with that, but Director Rule will have to work backwards in terms of the cash contribution if this is supported, and work out the in-kind component, and then the balance of the cash.
We would have to work with the event organiser in relation to that as to how they would like that contribution divvied up. So on that basis, are you happy to move that? Is the motion seconded? Councillor Weeding, thank you. Councillor Rotter, would you like to speak to your motion?
So again, we've got some budgetary constraints this year because of unexpected expenditure, as previously discussed. And I think the other points that were made in regards to the previous item, we can't really afford to spend our such a great amount of our event budget in two applications first up in July. So I think, yes, it's a great event, great to support it, but in view of the fact that we're currently reviewing our event funding policy, I think we should, 25 cash and in kind is more than reasonable.
Thanks, Councillor Rotter. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Any further speakers for? Councillor Nichols.
Yes, Mr Mayor, the problem I have is when you look at the event budget projection, is that they have merchandise sales of 15,000 and their projected expenses are 30,000 for exactly the same item. So they're asking for twice as they're saying they want $30,000 worth of merchandise purchase, and they're only going to sell 15,000. To me, that is incorrect accounting.
It's interesting accounting.
Attachment 2.
Page 11. Okay, thanks.
That's just
an observation.
Observation.
Okay. Any further speakers? Councillor Weeding.
Yeah, I think that $25,000 is more than generous when you look at the cricket, who are bringing 500 participants for 16 nights, and this event has 600 people for 7 nights. So I think in view of that now, reduced capacity, I think that's more than generous.
Thanks, Councillor Weeding. Any further comments?
I would just point out that if we were to, that's not the agenda item, not the motion, but $20,000 in cash and $15,000 in kind would put us over the upper limit of 30,000 within the policy. So clearly that's not going to be applicable anyway.
No, 25's the cap on both components. All right, Councillor Evans, did I cut you off?
No, I can make a comment. I think we're dealing with this in a prudent fashion, and I think keeping our spending, which I think is important in open council. We're doing this for the community. We want to make sure that we're keeping a cap on things at the moment. I think it's a very prudent decision and a good motion.
Thank you very much. Thank you. With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Thank you. Carried. Would we move, please, to item 9.8, Manufactured Home Estate, 78 Corbett Avenue, Baronga. Councillor Nichols.
I'd move it lay on the table.
Councillor Roddy, you're seconding that motion?
Yep.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
And look, I think we've had a price speak from...
Sorry, Mr Mayor. Sorry to interrupt. Councillor Nichols has moved a procedural motion.
It's a procedural motion. I beg
I think she speaks on it, which goes to a vote.
We go to the vote, indeed. It's been seconded. Those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. And that is a procedural motion rather than a planning motion. So we'll leave it at that. But all votes will be recorded in any case, as it was unanimous. Okay. Moving on to item 9.9, we have a concept application. Councillor Crisp.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wish to move as a recommendation option 2, which begins on page 216 but is essentially on the top of page 217, cancelled. And I'll read out that we approve DA 2025/193 for a concept development for dwelling at 205 Delta Road, Lot 60, DP 1320296, Kerwa, subject to conditions of consent excluding condition 4.
Second that motion.
Seconded, Councillor Nichols. So we've got that captured, excluding condition 4. Thank you. Councillor Crisp, would you like to speak to your motion?
I think we've heard some of what my thoughts earlier, but perhaps, councillors, if we go to page 222, there's a photograph sitting there, and the subject site is surrounded by rural residential lots that look to me to be about the same size or smaller, in an area where obviously we have rural residential. That's what this site proposes to be, and I think that there are a number of issues that were pointed out by the consultant, but clearly I think this is based on what the neighbourhood is, should be and can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crisp. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Any further speakers for the motion? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? As this is a planning matter, all votes will be considered, will be recorded for and against. The motion was passed unanimously.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, can we take a short break?
Would you like to move a brief adjournment?
I would.
Seconded, please.
Thank
All
you.
in favour? Thank you. you. Thank you. Welcome back. Item 9.10, reclassification of land to operational. Councillor Armstrong.
I would move the recommendation as written, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Seconded by Councillor Crisp. Thank you. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Any questions? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Thank you. That is carried unanimously. Pardon. Item 9.11, lifting of alcohol-free zone Wentworth Rowing Club Lawns area. Councillor Nichols has moved. Seconded Councillor Evans. Any discussion? Those in favour? Thank you. Those against? Councillor Rodder, did you vote?
I voted for. Sorry, you were too slow to catch me.
Must have been. Thank you. That is carried unanimously. Item 9.12, the aforementioned report, development application determination report for June 2026. Moved Councillor Starrick, seconded Councillor Rodder. Any questions? Councillor Nichols with a question.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody here can answer it or not, but on page 276, we've got 4 DAs with exactly the same amount of money for exactly the same. Are they going to be 4 lots of townhouses all sitting one by one by one? Jackson?
Yes.
2-storey dwelling with carport and swimming pool?
They are on
Safety
adjacent
barrier,
lots.
and swimming pool barrier? 1,004,500.
Different addresses.
Oh, yeah, well, they're not, but they're next door.
Yes.
They're next
Yeah.
door, that's what I'm saying.
What, 1, 2, 3,
It's
4?
obviously one developer doing.
Yeah, I think that's right. It is.
Yeah, one,
I think it's across previously subdivided lots. So it's the one dwelling.
1 2-storey house, detached garage and pool.
yeah, they're all
Across those lots.
yeah, they're all gonna look the same. Yeah,
Some
okay.
expensive houses getting built.
Well, they are.
Good on
$1.8 million on the next page, Councillor Nichols.
them. Thank you. Anything further? Those in favour? Thank you. Those against? Carried. Item 9.13, the project and works report for July 2026. Councillor Armstrong's moved. Councillor Rodder has seconded. And I just want to say, right at the front end, lots and lots of road work going on, and a big thank you to our roads and engineering crew. There's some very good work being done. Obviously, with different weather events and so forth over the last few months, there's been a few more troubling spots than usual, but exceptional to see it all happening. Councillor Nichols.
Yes, please. 279. The cost of the hiring of the gravel to do the grader to do the polio road. 6 months. What cost is that?
Oh, sorry. The cost for the bulldozer. I haven't got that figure with me at the moment. That's up to a period of 6 months.
They usually charge it by the day, don't they?
It will be, yeah, but we have a extended period of time, so I think they've got it on whether it's a daily rate or a weekly rate for that period. The hope is, and there will be another report coming to council next month dealing with a report for council to source a second-hand dozer. Obviously, we've recently sold our old one to do similar to what we did with the landfill, where we went out to purchase a lower hour second-hand articulated dump truck.
That's the exact reason I asked the question.
Yep. So
We've just sold an old one. Now we're probably going to pay half the price of a new one on hire.
That's the hope is we've got that for a period of up to 6 months. The hope is that we don't have to go anywhere near that time, depending on the report to come to council next month. We've already done quite a bit of investigation into the availability of items that would suit us in that particular range, so that will be put forward. So we're not locked into that particular time frame, but we have it available to us for that time frame.
No, I'm fairly tight, and so does Manager of Finance. I shall be looking with interest.
Don't worry, I asked the same question when I saw that. So
He thought of me.
yeah. To answer your previous question, though, the bulldozer that we did get rid of was absolutely stuffed.
It was probably okay for someone to put it into infrequent work, but for us to put it into the heavy work that we were continuously doing with it, it wasn't. We sold it while it was still a going concern, and someone could still use it and get value out of it.
Just.
Thank you, Councillor Nichols. Councillor Beaumont.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Two questions, if I may. Firstly, we've just approved the alcohol-free zone for 31st of October and 1st of November for the Henley-on-Darling, being based at the rowing club on the Wentworth foreshore. There are redevelopment works going on there and extension works going on at the moment. Will they be complete by?
Might refer that question to the
Acting Director.
Great question. So currently the roof is going on, the extension. So the renovation works have been completed, and we're now doing obviously the extension work. So all the structure, brickwork, and now the roof's going on at the moment. So we're hoping by the end of this month that they will be pretty well wrapped up. So what was the date for the?
31st of October, 1st of April.
Yeah, then plenty of time.
So it'll be done.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely, I heard.
They're wrapping it. Planning on wrapping up this month or October. They definitely will be completed.
Councillor Beaumont, second question.
Second question. I note on page 282 the Cadell Street footpath, Wentworth, design modified to better match funding requirements. So that has sparked my interest. What is the design, or what was the design, and what is it now? It's been modified.
So the original funding was to go from the end of Short Street to the entranceway of Junction Park, but be a 2.5 metre wide shared path. Looking through the design, or actually aligning all that, we worked out that we were going to clear out nearly every single tree along that entire stretch in terms of on that road verge. We worked through that actually a 2.1 metre wide path, so dropping it back by 400 mil, that we could actually keep quite a few number of trees. And we're in to keep the matching up with the funding, we've actually extended the path now further into Junction Park itself towards the playground area, matching up roughly the same amount of concrete in terms of cubic square metre aspect. So we've trimmed it that way, but actually lengthened it as well, and so we've put that to the funding body.
So that will be a concrete path all the way from Short Street right down to Junction Park
and into the park.
Yeah. So, and what side of the road are we talking?
It's on the river side of the southern side.
Right. So we'll have dual footpaths.
A little bit of a short path on, but
from Short Street to Beverly Street on the northern side, I guess I'd call it. Yeah, and then total footpath from Beverly.
Yeah,
so that would run basically from the levee bank,
that's
adjacent to the caravan park, all the way down.
The bonus of that particular southern route, I guess, is the fact that it's linking up Short Street footpath, but mainly that whole connection back through to the back of the levee bank of the caravan park, which obviously goes straight into the wharf area, and we all know where that all goes in terms of obviously the Hock and Ten Weir and the rest of that township space. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols.
I need to go through Councillor Evans. The Wentworth Camp Kitchen, wasn't that what was discussed at the showgrounds meeting? Re the lack of what was proposed and what was finished?
Just the bar.
Oh yes.
Camp kitchen.
Yes.
That was the
Yeah, there was some discussions had
Brick facade.
at the meeting regarding the brick facade. Yeah.
Yeah, the gentleman who's donating the bricks and who's stated how it should be done, it's totally not done that way, and he still believes it needs to go back and have extra sections put in.
I think discussion's already been had with the
Ricky, yep, and he's
and
going back to complete the corners, which were, and looking back at the design, that's what was put to council, and but we are building it.
Okay, thank you. That just relieves my mind and probably a few others.
Thanks, Councillor Nick. Yeah, good one. Thank you, Acting Director. Councillor Rodder with a question.
Thank you. In regards to Pooncarie, so I had a conversation. There's some dust sealing issues still outstanding, but there's some other issues outstanding. Have the paddock group made contact direct with you, Scott, in regards to that?
No, they have not.
Okay, because there's some.
We are looking. We have actually engaged someone to do the dust sealing works up there in the future. But if they have more commentary to add, I would love to make sure that we do it right.
Yeah, fantastic. Because there is a number of shortcomings in that that facility, and I realise it was built to a price, but it would be advantageous to have a facility there which is usable, and not to foreshadow the Pooncarie community wishes, but they want to put an additional building there, and I recommended they come and talk to Director Barnes and to the council grant writer for assistance to facilitate that, because for anyone who's been to the Pooncarie Ball, that event is hampered by lack of capacity in that facility, and they would like to move that to Pooncarie Reserve, but it would require an additional building there to house that and other events. The grand plans, but I hope that we can work closely with that community to facilitate that upgrade.
Thank you, Councillor Rodder. Does anyone else have a question? Councillor Weeding.
To Director Gunn, when you do your reports, I know you've got attachments here, and then you flick over and you've got the photos. Do you think you could put the what the photos are on the page, so not flicking back and forward?
So on the top of the page there is not.
All right. Yep.
I made the same mistake myself just once before.
I think
thanks for your quick resolution to that. Councillor Farmer.
One other question, I guess, to Acting Director, Roads and Engineering, page 288, which refers to the James Park boat ramp. Bottom photo shows a rather large hole, a lot of damage at the end of that boat ramp, and the photo above, I think, shows the work that's been undertaken to address that. Is that asphalt that's been laid at the end of that boat ramp?
It's concrete. So, sorry. The bottom three or the bottom six panels of that boat ramp, the bottom picture probably doesn't do it justice. It was really really sunk in the middle. A lot of the ballast rock had been from flooding and boat use and stuff had been displaced from under the panels. So all those panels were removed. That was repacked and relined with ballast rock and material. The panels were put back on, leveled up. Then that at the bottom of that ramp was actually, there was a heap of rock and ballast put back in there. And it's been locked together with a slurry concrete mix.
So that's a dark area.
So that's a dark area. That's actually all concrete, and there's lock the lap which will prevent the ballast rock from coming out from underneath the ramp, and any other boat and propeller wash from causing further damage.
Thanks, Acting GM. And it's just worth mentioning our thanks to the council team for taking a proactive approach to manage to get this done in the limited period of time while the weir reinstate, or prior to the weir reinstatement. So, yeah, well done to the team. Now, I have a couple of questions. I've got Councillor Crisp, Councillor Rodder, then Councillor Evans.
Thank you. So just in regards to attachment 4, the Boyle Creek Road, is that open to the general public now?
To my understanding, it is. Still has some roadwork signage there, so the trafficable part of the road is. However, there is still additional drainage works to be undertaken, and we're awaiting approval from fisheries before we can undertake that work. But yes, but as far as the access is, I think it's open, but under
that road's been closed for a very long time.
As we all understand why, don't we?
Yeah.
Councillor Evans.
Just a question on the boat ramp, James King Park. The remediation of that, how did we deal with the cost of that? It's a fair amount of work and machinery and concrete.
Yeah, that will be absorbed into our maintenance budget for we have a maintenance budget that takes into account work on parks and roads, and we will have to absorb that work in there. Wasn't something that was on our radar and envisaged. It really became apparent of the level of damage that was caused when the water had receded. So we took the opportunity to jump in over that 4 or 5 day period to get that, and that also included some significant conversations with fisheries to gain said permits to do the work. Might be something that I have to have further discussion with the Director of Finance with regards to. but I'm sure he will be able to comment that.
Thanks for your question, Councillor Evans. Are there any further questions? All those in favour of the report? Thank you. That's carried. Councillor Deputy Mayor Crisp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the council adjourns into closed session, the recording of the meeting be suspended, and members of the press and public excluded from the closed session, and that access to the correspondence and reports relating to the items considered during the course of the closed session be withheld unless declassified by separate resolution.
Is the motion seconded? Councillor Rodder. Those in favour? Thank you. That is carried. And thank you for your attendance. Lachlan.
Well,
Manager to report on the outcome of the business.
So the outcome of the closed business 12.1 Cadell Street Shared Path is that council, in accordance with section 1781A of the Local Government General Regulation 2021, accepts the tender from Oliver Concreting Proprietary Limited for contract number PT 2526/072 in the amount of $227,410 ex-GST, and authorises the Mayor and General Manager to sign the contract documentation and affix the council seal.
Thank you. Thank you, Acting GM. That concludes this evening's meeting. Thank you all for your attendance. Our next meeting is the 19th of August. And remember, folks, why not winter in Wentworth?
Absolutely. I did my best whilst in Frankfurt, I think it was.